Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this Saturday? Blessed Saturday, everybody. We are at Ember Saturday in the season of Advent, so still rocking the purple light. So blessed Ember Saturday, everybody, and welcome to episode 399 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, the Chosen of Valhalla podcast, with no chosen to be found. So this has been definitely a difficult show to schedule, as there are a lot of people, of course, traveling, people working, and that is, of course, the nature of the beast once you get to the mid-December point. But with everything that was going on earlier this month, this was really the only weekend that I could do the December show. And unfortunately, it looks like I'm currently alone. I should be joined very soon by Rosetta Allen. She said that she's snowed in, so she originally was not going to be able to be here, but because of snow, is stuck. So she's stuck doing a show with me potentially. So I'll let her in as soon as she joins in the back room. Unfortunately, we also, of course, prayers heading out to Tina B, Empress of the Universe. She is still having some issues with her eyes, so please keep her in your prayers. Recently, we had the feast of Saint Lucy, and I think that it is a great saint to pray to pray for the intercession of Saint Lucy into Tina's life, as Saint Lucy is well known for being one to go to with eye conditions. So praying to Saint Lucy, the intercession of Saint Lucy, and of course praying for intercession in Tina's life to be able to receive healing for her eyes, and hopefully is able to recover soon and recover quickly. Not just to be a part of the Asgardian community here, but of course also the Soup to Nuts community as well, which she and Stephanie B run and have a darn good time with. And so while I am in the chat, I'm checking the Discord right now to see what's going on. Thank you for joining me early. And yes, Father Christopher Miller, thank you very much for being here today. No stream tonight because of us having an earlier stream. Whenever we have the chosen streams, I try to cancel the evening streams simply because doing two streams in a row or two streams very short next to each other, it's just something I don't know if I could physically be able to handle. And just the fact that normally the usual chosen stream goes about 3 hours in order to be able to give everybody the as much time as they want, as much time as they would like to be able to mention the things that they want to talk about, whether it be movies, pop culture, projects they're working on, other things like it. I was thinking today we could probably talk a little bit about maybe Christmas, talk about Christmas traditions and things of that sort, but we of course will do so once the Chosen get in. But while we wait for the Chosen, let us say hello to the people. We got Derek McManus in the chat. What's going on, Derek? How is it going? Sahil, what is going on? Saying it's hilarious to see how the projections for Avatar 2 keep falling. Yes, I will say this much. Do not be fooled by those numbers. This is something, as you all know, I'm always very vocal about, warning people about reading too much into early numbers. Because right now the film is still projected to make around $120 to $150 million in its opening domestic, which is still quite a bit more than even the adjusted for inflation opening of the first film. So it's tracking better than the first film money-wise. Now, that does not equate necessarily to having as many people, because, again, I keep shouting him out. I shouted him out on Friday Night Tights last night as well, which was a fun show. But I will shout him out again, Valiant Renegade, because something that he has been very consistent about is talking about how, because the average ticket price has changed so dramatically between when the first Avatar came out and this one, even though the money might be higher, ultimately we see that the number of people is lower, because with a higher ticket price, it means you don't have to have as many people to make as much, if not more, than in previous years. And so because of that, though we are seeing this movie tracking to do better than the first film, we are also looking to see the film have much less actual people. So the audience for this film has absolutely dropped significantly, and I think that trend will continue both domestically and internationally as we continue to move forward in its actual release. But again, $120 to $150 million was still the range that I was seeing domestically for this movie. I think that the range for China Remember that that was one that they were originally projecting it to make around $100 million this weekend. And that is not looking like it's going to happen because they were expecting to have around 3,000 screens open for its opening day. Only 1,700 were actually open. So they were at half capacity in that instance. I think that they were able to open up more of their theaters by the weekend. And so it's looking like it might be a little bit better than what it could have been had half the theaters been open the entire weekend. But either way, you're looking at it being 50 to 75% less. And they were projecting it to make around $100 million in China opening weekend. So now it's looking, maybe 50 to 75 million in China. And yeah, it's definitely not a good look for the film. But the reason why I say to be careful, and Valiant Renegade has mentioned this as well, and I know that he'll be covering this as much as I will, is that Avatar, James Cameron especially, and we look to the first Avatar film as kind of being evidence of this, will have very good legs because of the fact of when this film is releasing. It's not a mistake that Disney decided to release this film this weekend, because it's got this weekend all by itself, essentially, all next week. Then you have Christmas weekend, which, again, that might ultimately also be a little bit of fool's gold because the drop actually might be a lot higher because of Christmas, because of people being together with family and not going to the theater, though, of course, there are people that go to the theater on Christmas as well. So that'll be interesting to see. And then you'll have the entire, week after Christmas where people will typically be off. At the very least, you'll have a bunch of people off from school, college students, high school students as well, people who much more likely would go to see this movie. You then also will have a lot of people off from work, maybe a couple days that week, maybe even the entire week. And so that is going to create a lot of money for this movie. And so what Valiant Renegade is pointing out, and which I will totally agree to, is that this film will have a very good holiday run. And because of that, even though the projections for this weekend are coming in a lot smaller and a lot lower, I think ultimately we will definitely see the film do very, very well as far as just the total number is concerned. Whether it hits 500 million internationally at this point, based off of China being less and based off of even the domestic being a little bit less than what they had thought, I think that we're probably looking closer to 450 million worldwide, if I had to guess. I have not checked to see what the recent updates have been. I'll go ahead and pull up Deadline's box office. Yeah, so yeah, they of course are adjusting on the fly, and this is something that they do. Important just for us to always keep that in mind, that when it comes to box office numbers, you adjust when those numbers are actually, as they come in. But I'll go ahead and pull this up for people to be able to see, so that way we can talk about it. So as you can see, Avatar lands $53 million Friday. James Cameron's sequel is between $130 and $150. So as I said, between $130 and $150 million is what they are expecting the film to make money-wise. But again, going back, and I think I'm just going to call it the Valiant Renegade point. I would call it the VR point, but then people would think it's a little bit different. But the Valiant Renegade point is, this is dollars, not people, right? So there are not nearly as many people buying tickets to go see that. And this is something that I actually pointed out last week on the show. Remember, on Tuesday's show last week, I pointed out the fact that you had a lot of people buying tickets to the IMAX 3D. You had almost nobody buying 2D tickets and very few buying even the 3D tickets for opening night. That was specifically opening night. I think I went to Friday as well, and it was a very similar story. So that's why you are still seeing a high number here, because the average ticket price is higher. But the number of people compared to the first film, yeah, there's no way this film is going to get anywhere close to the same number of people. But this is the update from Deadline. It says the box office media will be quick to judge that Avatar is coming in under its projections with an opening day of 53 million, off from the first day previews of last year's Spider-Man No Way Home's 121.9, the second highest day of the year, and a 3-day weekend between 130 to 150, which is different than the domestic 260. So again, this film is coming in underneath projections, but even the high projections had the film making between 150 and 200 domestically. So it's still making well over $100 million domestically this weekend. It was still also initially going to make less than No Way Home's, right? It's still going to be less than No Way Home's. But remember, that though the opening weekend is not going to be as impressive as No Way Home's, even though it is coming in underneath what the initial projections were, that does not mean that we're not going to see strong numbers every day this week. Decent numbers next weekend. Again, Christmas holiday being on with Christmas being on a Sunday this year, that's going to make things interesting, right? Because that means that Friday, Saturday, you could actually see high numbers because people will be spending time together on Sunday, and Sundays are not always the biggest day for the box office anyway. So it'll be very interesting to see where that falls when all is said and done. But it's absolutely coming in much less. And anyway, I'm now joined by Rosetta. Alan, Rosetta, how's it going? Well, I can't hear.
Yeah, the mic's being a little stubborn. I'm not quite back to the house yet, so.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, I was like, hey.
I was out seeing Pretty Boy before I have to travel because I'm going to miss my elf family, you know?
Yeah.
And then my husband's like, what else do I do? And I looked at the clock and went, oh, crap.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm being joined by Rosetta at some point. I can't quite guarantee, but we'll talk about it when she's here.
Me and my nature stuff, I get very distracted.
Well, you could just jump back in when you get home then, because...
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to get a little noisy. I just wanted to let you know what's going on. And it just takes too long. It's not a long drive. It's like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. I'll keep talking with the people then while we wait for you to come in.
I'll fill you in on it when I get there.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you in a few. All right, so we will be joined by Rosetta Allen in a little bit as she is on her way back. And we also should be joined by Laura, the Modern Major General, at some point. I know it's going to be somewhat random because she's also dealing with some house stuff today. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, as you can see, though, going back to that main point about the box office, so it's coming in less, right, than No Way Home. This is not going to be on the same level domestically as Spider-Man No Way Home's, I don't think, at least. It goes on to say, however, realize that in the case of Avatar, it's all about the low supply and high demand for premium seats. And that's exactly how people want to see the film. IMAX and PLF tickets are driving 32% of Avatar 2's tickets. So that just means IMAX, 3D, any of the higher end tickets, right? So that's why I say the average ticket price for this movie is a lot higher than a lot of the other films that we're talking about. So the numbers are going to look higher even with less people overall. This is talking about from Friday, the Thursday previews. Very similar share figure to Black Panther's, 35%. It's interesting that Black Panther actually had a higher percentage of the more premium tickets versus Avatar's. I would have thought Avatar's share would have been a lot higher. It says, but then Avatar 2 also has another 31% in ticket sales from 3D showings. That's non-PLF and IMAX venues. No double counting here. Okay, well, hey, thanks for at least trying to be honest, Deadline. Who is this? Is this Nancy? No, this is Tony. What's up, Tony? From Deadline. So anyway, so it is getting quite a heavy share from these higher price tickets. With the runtime, people are seeking out the best time and format to see this movie says EVP, Chief Content Programming. Oh, that's a long title, dear Lord, for Midwest chain B&B Theaters, about 3 hours and 12 minutes. And that is going to be, I think, one of the big stories with this movie is the fact that it is 3 hours and 12 minutes long, and you do feel it. The movie is an incredibly boring film. You all know, hopefully by now, if you've seen my review, I was not very fond of the film. I did not think it was a very good film. But that runtime, as is being rightly pointed out here, does indeed put limits on how many showtimes you can have, meaning how many actual premium showtimes you can have in any given day. If the film was only 2 hours long, guess what? You now have the capacity to have, 30% more showings in a given day just in one screen? Right? Think about the number of showings you need but in a screen, the time you need between screens to be able to clean the theater, at least 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, depending especially on how busy it is. So you're talking here about a film's runtime that, yeah, again, people are going to see it, but could this end up having a major impact? We'll wait and see. The top 129 theaters for Friday previews were well over 50,000 and were all IMAX Dolby XD PLF, I'm told. At 53 million, it's the highest opening day for a Cameron movie, beating the $27 million day of 2009 Avatar. So, of course, they're not adjusting that number for inflation. But as I mentioned, this weekend is projected still to make more than the adjusted for inflation numbers for the first Avatar film, I believe. Internationally running total stands at 127.1, with China for an all-in global cum to date of $180.1 million so far. Realize that No Way Home and Marvel movies are front-loaded, and that Uber movie saw 68% decline in weekend 2. I think I was talking about No Way Home. Again, we can't judge Avatar 2 until we get through New Year's weekend. And I think that's a fair point to be said, right? Is we do have to wait for this film to be out for a couple of weeks to see, okay, what's the daily numbers, actually looking like? What's the day-to-day performance looking like? But this is, of course, going to get some of that China money. It's not going to get as much of that China money, though, as many of the theaters are still closed in China. And it's interesting, and I mentioned this point before, and I will mention it again. China was all about closing things down until this movie came out. And then they're like, let's open up everything, everybody, because, we were trying to scare you with the whole no COVID stuff before, but we want to make money, and Disney is going to give us a crap ton of money. If we have this theater out, because we get a lot of the returns on that. We get, they have a very sweetheart deal with Disney and all the other major studios in Hollywood. But I think they have one of the best working relationships. I would say right now, Universal has the best working relationship with them, because Universal has had more films, at least recently, in the last couple of years, released there. Whereas Disney kind of fell out of it a little bit. A lot of their major releases didn't get there, but clearly Avatar, James Cameron, I would say, probably has a better working relationship in general, because I mentioned this before too. The technology being used in Avatar was developed by China. So anyway, Bryant Barth, hail to you. Thanks for joining today. I had highlighted this while the opening was playing, but happy birthday, JKD Buck 76. Hope you have a good time at your birthday. Hopefully it's not going to see Avatar 2. Good Lord. General Wingster, no, we are not going 4 hours today. Again, we're going to try and go from start time about 90 minutes, as I mentioned. I'll be joined by Rosetta as soon as she gets home. She's in the chat right now. Glad to see you there. And so we will be trying to do probably a 90-minute show, so probably stopping around 1:30-ish, because I know there's stuff that I need to do around the house. I know there's stuff that I'm sure a lot of other people need to do around the house as well. And so especially since today is kind of a all over the place day when it comes to who can jump in and for how long, we'll probably try and do about 90 minutes today, a typical show length, but we'll see how things are. But we probably won't go to the full 3 hours that we typically do. GMonkey76, hail to you. Thanks for being here. Again, Father, thank you for stopping by. He says, I'm at a high school basketball game, so I can't stay. No problem at all, Father. Good luck to your school's team. Gary Banjo Sandwich, what's up, good sir? Time to say, it's the most wonderful time for a beer. Well, according to you, Gary Banjo, you all know I'm very much not into that. I'm a straight edge individual, but if you want to crack open a beer, you're more than welcome to. Bruce, hail to you, good sir. Again, I think I did shout you out the other day, but thank you for the wonderful card and for the $100 super chat, real life super chat. Appreciate it. Card was very, very nice, and appreciated the calendar, the little mini calendar card, and the prayer card. It was awesome. Thank you. In disguise, meet, what's going on? How's it going? Father says, bummer, I don't have the vigil tonight. Anyway, gotta run, sucking up phone bandwidth being here. It's okay, Father. Thank you for stopping by, even just for a little while. And I like how you're like, oh yeah, tonight I actually could be in the show. I actually could be in the chat. Uh-huh. Sure, Father. Jay Bling, what's going on? Hail to you. Well, yeah, because it's December. It's our December stream. It's our December member stream. And I figured, well, that means that we're not going to talk again until after Christmas is over. So we might as well have our Christmas stream amongst the chosen. I'll still have a stream, still planning on having a stream on Tuesday evening. And then, of course, coming up this weekend with the 23rd I think Friday Night Tights might still be possible because my Christmas travel plans don't start until after Christmas Day. So I'll have to wait and see, of course, what we are doing. Got to check with the wife. Got to check with Lady Freya, of course, as she might be making some plans with some friends. We'll have to wait and see. But the chances of us having a Saturday stream next weekend, we'll have to wait and see. Dragon Bricks, what's going on? Welcome back to the chat. Yeah, no competition for the film. So that's why I think it would be a mistake to undermine this movie. It would be a mistake to undermine this movie because it might be coming in underneath where people expected it to be this weekend, but it will still have a lot of room to run. And because of that massive amount of money that each ticket costs, just even on average, it's going to make it back. Again, I did not see the film in 3D, and I will just say I don't think it's worth seeing at all. I think the film is a 3-hour waste of time. I don't think anyone should waste their time with it. I think you would be using your time much more efficiently by going to either see a different movie. I recommend The Banshees of Inisherin. People were apparently coming after me. I think there's a lot of people from either from Ireland or from... I just noticed a lot of comments from people from Ireland under the review that I did, the review that I posted for the movie. And there was a couple of comments where they were trying to go after my pronunciation. It's like, come on, I'm clearly not going to get the pronunciation perfect. Let's see. Paul Fisher, thank you for tagging, good sir, says, does anyone track tickets sold for movies? So I do know, I found this the other day just by mere happenstance, by mere mistake. That the numbers, tracks ticket sales, actual ticket sales to a certain degree. I forget exactly how and where I found it, but if I can find it again, I will try to bring it up. Let's see, annual box office. Okay, yeah, it was under the annual box office. So let's see, complete chart for 2022. Yeah. So according to, and my guess is, let me see their methodology. Says this chart ranks by most, let me pull that up on screen so people can see. This chart ranks movies by the amount they earned during 2022. It includes movies released in previous years that earned money during 2022. For example, a movie released over Thanksgiving in 2021 will most likely earn money in both 21 and 22. Click on the individual movie to see its total gross over all the years in which it played. Inflation-adjusted figures are based on ticket sale estimates. See top 2022 movies at the domestic box office. Movie Index 2022 for overall of all movies released in 2022. So this is the one place that I've seen as far as tickets sold. I'm sure there might be other places. But anyway, looking at this currently, if you look at Avatar Way of Water, based off of, this is just domestically, they are projecting that as of right now, The Way of Water and that $53 million opening, so just the Thursday and Friday numbers, that 5.7 million people, 5.7 million tickets, almost 5.8 million tickets were actually sold for it. So that obviously will go up by the end of the weekend. But the top movie, Top Gun Maverick, $78 million, or rather 78 million tickets sold. If you go back a year, the top grossing film was Spider-Man No Way Home, which was 66 million. But I believe that film will have, let's see if I can go back. Yep, I'm clicking the wrong things. So anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home, $66.9 million. However, it also had another, let's see here. Yeah, it had another 26 million tickets sold in 2022 because obviously it came out end of 21 into 2022. So anyway, but the top selling films of the year, 78 million tickets for Top Gun Maverick. Last year, Spider-Man No Way Home at 66. But again, add those other ones, and that film was almost 100 million tickets sold for that movie. So very impressive. Bad Boys for Life, 22 million. That was the COVID year, so that one makes sense. Endgame, 93 million tickets sold. Black Panther, 76 million tickets sold. Star Wars Last Jedi, 57 million tickets sold. Finding Dory, 56 million tickets sold. And then Star Wars The Force Awakens, 88 million tickets sold. Now, again, that was in that individual year, and a bunch of those did carry over into the next year. But since we are talking about Avatar currently, right now it's only sold about over 5 million tickets. But by the end of the weekend, I suspect that will be a lot higher. So anyway, you can find that on the numbers. And if you go to the box office and then you go to the, let's see, was it chart index? Was it annual box office? No. Which one was it? Was it records? Nope. Was it chart index? Nope. 2022 domestic? No. How did I find it before? I feel like I'm going crazy here. Annual box office. That's what it is. Okay, yeah, I got tricked by the chart. So yeah, if you go to box office on the numbers, annual box office, it'll then show you tickets, and then you can go and see complete chart there, etc. So that's the only place that I at least use on a regular basis that tracks the actual tickets. Gus, what's going on? Welcome back. Let's see, Orange Air Reviews. Thanks for being a member on the channel. Welcome back to the chat. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Rosetta should be home pretty soon. General Wingster says, feeling well. I am a little, I have a bit of the sniffles, a little bit of the coof. Not the coof, but a little bit of a cough. Let's see. Rosetta says, I only need about 20 hours to monetize now. Also remember the 29th is my birthday. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So happy early birthday to Rosetta. And we'll mention that again when she joins on stream again. And go check her out on YouTube as well. And I do have a quick command, ! Rosetta will pull up her YouTube channel. So go check out Rosetta Allen's YouTube channel. Give her some support. Help her get to that 20 hours for monetization. See, Gary Banjo Sandwich. Napatar was very long. Yes, it was. And very nap-worthy. Dadman Walk 55, who's a member. Hail to you. Lurking for a while at work. Hey, thanks for being here. Let's see. Rosetta says, I'm leaving Tuesday. Probably won't be back to my house until March. Dang. That's right. The long winter. She then goes on to say, Avatar is trash, always has been. Say no to acid-dropping Smurfs who think they are natives. Yep. Absolutely. There is definitely the whole noble savage trope throughout the entirety of the film, just like in the original. And there are a lot of things that are very much borrowed from the original as far as general story beats and general concepts and characters, villains, that kind of thing. I think one of the things that bothered me the most, though, was the first 10 minutes when every single thing they established was a complete contrivance. It was so incredibly forced. I mean, people try to bring up, I think, saying, well, you weren't as critical of Top Gun Maverick. Well, there's several differences with that film. For one, that one is 35 years separated from the original. Two, they really weren't looking to make a sequel for, if they had been planning on making a sequel, it obviously didn't happen until 35 years later, whereas Avatar was always made with the mindset, James Cameron had the mindset of the story continuing on past that point for at least 5 total movies or so. So that is also has to be taken into account as a difference. You then also take into account that Maverick is, though it is, and absolutely this is something that one can bring up, it is rehashing a lot of the same beats of the first movie. It's doing so, 1, effectively, 2, respectfully, and 3, it's actually even raising the bar. And so it's not that any film to be good has to be completely original. It's just that when your film only has visual effects, and that's the only thing that you can really run on, and that's the main thing people are talking about with this movie and with the last movie, you have to then be able to supplement that with something else. And if the best you can do is a rehashed story that's not even good, that is not effective, that is not well done, as in the case with Top Gun Maverick, and then you add to it the fact that Top Gun Maverick is using all practical effects with real people, doing real stunts, doing crazy stuff, Whereas with Avatar, yeah, you might have the motion capture, and I'm sure they'll release some behind the scenes of what the actors were doing, not taking anything away from the actors there. Ultimately, it is still CGI. There are still CGI enhancements of those performances. So there is a major difference there story-wise between the two. But ultimately, one of the major issues when it comes to the story of Avatar is those contrivances very early on. They give you this exposition where they tell you everything. They explain everything to you. It's almost as if they're trying to explain and show how dumb they think their audience is. They think that their audience can't actually figure out a more complex story. So they have to spell everything out for them. They have to literally have a voiceover explaining how all things work. I mean, heck, they even pull the old Valkyrie trick. By Valkyrie, I mean the film Valkyrie, where that film starts off in German and then becomes English, just to make it seem like, oh, you know, it's as if you're hearing it in English. Again, it was one of those, you know, poor ways of trying to, you know, make a connection, thinking themselves clever. They do that here as well. They have a line in the film, in the very opening of the movie, where Jake Sully says, you know, oh, and with the language, I've been around it so long, now it's almost as if I was hearing English. And then all of a sudden you're hearing the Na'vi speaking in the Na'vi language, and then all of a sudden now it's in English. And now, oh, wait, rest of the movie, we can just have it be in English. Again, almost as if to say, oh, yeah, our audience probably couldn't handle subtitles. King Rumsky, what's up? Over on Rumble, says, in my honest opinion, tickets sold should just be the metric to use to determine a movie's popularity. No Way Home did huge numbers. Well, there is a problem with that, though. The numbers that you just saw are complete estimates. Because remember, that's just based off of average ticket price. So they take the average ticket price and then they divide the total box office, and that's how they get their tickets. It's not as if there is a running tally of, oh, today we sold 500 tickets, add it to the pile. I wish there was that metric. I think that is and should be the metric that's used. Because that's the reason why you have films like Gone with the Wind, for instance, that still has such a massive stranglehold on total worldwide box office records. Because if you look to the actual tickets sold for that movie, none of the modern films can even hold a candle to it. Victor Fontaine, what's going on, good sir? Welcome back to the chat. I know a few people waiting to see Avatar next weekend because they couldn't get Prime 3D IMAX seats. Exactly. Next weekend, I don't think, unless they've pre-ordered the tickets for next weekend, I don't think next weekend's going to be a very good one to go see it either. I would say it probably would be better to see it during the middle of the week. Anyway, Rosetta says, Avatar sucked, special effects are crap if the movie sucks. Yeah. Again, the special effects, I will say the world that's built, yeah, okay, it's impressive. But I made this point before, and I made it last night on Friday Night Tights. This movie is not really a movie that's worth seeing once, let alone twice. It honestly, the only place that I think this movie has a place is on the screen of every Best Buy 4K TV as a reference source. And it's a 3-hour movie, so guess what? You don't have to have it change over several times. You can just have it rolling in the background. People can walk by and say, ooh, this looks pretty. And that's really the only logical... That's the only logical purpose that Avatar actually has. That's the only one that it actually has. That's the only place that I could actually see it having value, is in showing what TV technology can do, right? What 4K can do. Because just like with the first movie, when everyone was going crazy, I was like, yeah, but those giant blue Smurf people, again, still doesn't look real. And sure enough, this time around as well, guess what? Okay, you can try and argue, oh, it's so much better. Still giant blue Smurf people with those weird tails that they use not only to make love, but also to ride animals. Raises some questions. Rosetta goes on to say, I don't watch those either unless I want to mock something. Yep. And again, I went into watching it with an open mind, as I always do. Some people may not believe that, but I do. I can provide examples, but I don't think that one I should have to. And two, people will say, well, you're just being disingenuous by mentioning it because you're just using that as blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. Just trying to make the point that I dislike the film because because the film's not a very good movie. Take the visual effects out of it and then make a compelling argument. And it's hard to do that. Goes on to say, only reason to watch monster movies and horror is to laugh at the senseless violence. Well, I will say to a point, because I think that there are definitely horror films that you watch because they're clever, because they are actually very effective. Some people like getting scared. I don't. That's why I stay away from those. But the psychological thrillers, the psychological horror films, those are the ones I'm more drawn to because they actually, I think that those are actually making you think, making you work through things. She's like, wee, icy roads. Yeah, for those that have maybe just joined, smash the like button, light the fire button on Odyssey, smash the rumble button as well. And for those that are just joining, though, Rosetta will be joining me on stream soon. She's one of the few, if not the only, members of the Chosen of Valhalla group that will actually be able to join me today, which is why we're going to have a little bit of a shorter stream, and also why I'm 38 minutes in and talking about box office and Avatar. But right now she's driving home, and wee icy road. Hubby drives, of course. Well, again, please drive safely. And of course, as I mentioned, please also support Rosetta on her YouTube channel as well. She goes on to say, Hollywood thinks all natives are tree-hugging hippies, clueless fools. Yep. Coming from someone who herself is a native. For those that don't know, Rosetta is Native American. Now, of course, in today's modern world where color of skin is what determines what you are, people would oftentimes and often do look at Rosetta and say, oh, well, she's white. It's like, okay, well, that's not how we determine these things, okay? Just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean that that's what their heritage or their culture is. I mean, come on, people. But if anyone's going to know anything, especially about just how bad Cameron is in the representation of Native life and of Native culture, if anyone's going to be able to speak about that especially, it's going to be Rosetta. But yeah, it's amazing, right? Because this is yet another film that, whereas the first film is much more tree-huggy, this one's all save the whales. Save the oceans, save the whales. So that this film has just as much of a political message as the first one does. I will at the very least say that at least it doesn't have the name for the item isn't as dumb. In the first film, the precious resource was literally called unobtainium. Yes, and there are people that defend the writing of the first film. Unobtainium. In this one, though it doesn't have as dumb of a name, it is as silly of a process. Somehow, some way, they figure it out. And by the way, I mean, I'm not going to really... You all know my thoughts on Avatar, and now on Avatar 2. I'm not really going to protect anyone from spoilers as far as basic plot stuff. I mean, I'm not going to talk necessarily about, let's just say spoilers are going to likely happen. But I will say this. I don't think any of the spoilers that are ever going to be mentioned about this film will change your opinion about the film. As far as, if you were going to enjoy the film already, you're going to enjoy the film. If you were going to hate the film already, you're going to hate the film whether you know what's going to happen or not, because that's one of the things this film has a problem with, is that it's very predictable. But what's not predictable is Rosetta Allen. What's up, Rosetta?
Sorry, it's at the beginning. I'm just having one of those weeks.
It's fine. Welcome back, Rosetta. One of my Chosen of Valhalla. Finally joined by a Chosen. How have you been?
Busy. Very busy. No, I posted a few shorts the day before my husband's birthday at the end of last month. At that point, I was under 950 subs. And several of them got, over the last month, it's just a question of if they actually hit or not. They've been getting nothing if they don't, but the rhythm picks them up. They're getting anywhere from 1,000 to 7,000 hits on them consistently. For a small channel, that's pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
But I went from like under 950 subs to almost 1,200 in a few weeks here.
Nice.
And I've gained almost 2,000 watch hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm literally like 20 away from monetization level.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, so I posted it earlier and I'll post it again, but please, people, check out Rosetta's YouTube channel. It'll be posted by Heimdall in a second. There it is. So check out her channel, subscribe to it, and also make sure to watch and support her content. Help her get those watch hours up so that way she can get monetized. So, yeah, because you had the big 1K celebration, right?
Yeah. That was like a week ago, and I'm already close to the monetize on it, and I had like 1,200 left. No, actually, I had over 1,400 hours left to get when I did that stream about a week ago.
Nice.
And it's less, like I said, it's close. So.
And then once you get there, it's just like you still have to do the whole process of waiting because nothing can be, instant with YouTube unless they're taking down your content, right?
I have seen it take people anywhere from minutes to months to get monetized. You never know which it's going to be.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I think mine was on the
it would be nice
shorter.
if they do it quickly so I could actually get like super chats and gifts for my birthday.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, that's why I always recommend people, even if they're not monetized, to create like either a Streamlabs link or something like that. So that way people can still donate to you already. And then you don't have to, because that's the thing too. It's like you get so excited that you're monetized on YouTube. And then all of a sudden you kind of look and see, oh, how many super chats did I get? Oh, wait, YouTube's taking 30% of every, oh, it's not as, okay. You're like, oh, maybe I should have had something else set up.
Because I'm going to be gone for so long and I have so much I have to do while I'm gone. I've been going through like all these animal videos I've never gotten to post or deal with because I'm not great at editing usually. Mm-hmm. The 5K player for videos and Blu-ray on your computer actually is a very quick way to cut sounds out of the videos and clean up the images if they shake from my like tremors. Mm-hmm. And it's not perfect, but it makes them look cleaner, and I can slow them down on a few so they can see the details of how the feathers shake when they open and wings and stuff like that. And
nice.
They may not be big videos. They may not be ultra edited or fancy, but I can at least clean out the background noise and wind and let people actually see the animals moving and stuff, and just program one to post a day for the next few months. So if I can't do stuff while I'm taking care of Mom, I'm still at least getting some content out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And yeah, you're getting ready because obviously you had mentioned the snow kept you from, because you were going to start your travels to see family.
We were supposed to originally try to leave last weekend, and my women's group, which is the church stuff, wanted to have an extra week. So they planned this whole potluck there. So I delayed an extra week for that, and then all the blizzards hit because she's in South Dakota. So as they're trying to open up South Dakota, we're getting snowed on here.
Oh, no. The snow just follows your family everywhere.
So it's okay. We deal with that. We'll get things done. We'll fix it. That's not a problem, but we'll find a way. Even if we have to take alternate routes or places that didn't get hit as much, we'll find a way.
Yeah.
But my mom's already trying to get us to arrange and redo my house enough to have her come out here next winter so she can go track eagles with me. Because as she said, it doesn't make sense for somebody with her issues. She can't drive on the snow because she's limited on driving anyways because she has cataracts and other issues. So she can only drive some hours of the day. She can only drive certain conditions and stuff. And it doesn't make sense for her to be alone out in the mountains for months in a time when she can't really drive. Yeah. So she's like, well, we already know your house isn't ready for this. It's not. There's so much stuff I'm behind in this house because of the last couple of years and taking care of family. There's no way I could just bring her out here to stay with us now. But she wants to come up here for a couple months next winter and actually go track eagles with me and interact with the animals and stuff with me.
That's awesome.
So that means I got a lot to do the next year. Because I have to go help take care of her for this winter and be basically her chauffeur and help out with the house. And then try to get all my work and all my summer stuff and get finished projects and try to get some of this stuff out because I have so many things almost done that have just been delayed over and over with all the things that keep happening to my city and my family.
Yeah, because Eagle's book, right?
Yeah,
Book
it's
is the big one.
so close on those. And I have both versions almost completely finished on that. Because remember, I told you I was doing an alternate that's none of the pictures are the same picture.
Yeah.
I have both of those almost completed. I have all this stuff done, but I can't work on the Eagle book right now because my computer is dying hard and it can't run the program. It keeps crashing.
Oh, no.
So it's like, this has been like task after task.
Just one thing after another after another.
I was originally planning this last summer here to pull my funds that I've been saving for my projects and from donations from followers and stuff together to get a fancier, higher speed computer, more like a gaming computer system, because that's what you need to really do a lot of editing and programming books and stuff like that. You know?
They actually tend to, a lot of the same things people look at for gaming is also very good, typically with graphic design as well.
Especially for like running the program that I use for editing the book and stuff. It eats a lot of memory because you're doing so many layers at once and you're doing so many pages at once. But it's a good book for it, program for bookmaking. And it goes up to 100 pages of detailed photo work and editing and stuff. You can design photo books, comics, and everything on this program easy.
Nice.
And that's cool. But it eats up the memory because it's designed to do all this high-tech stuff for those kinds of books.
Yeah.
It's also $100 program. So it's not a cheap little device.
Yeah.
But I have extra places where I'm allowed to save it to computers. You have so many downloads for the payment and all that. I just need to get a better computer.
Yeah.
But I was going to do that with my funds, and then all this happened with losing Dad, and all my funds went to helping Mom pay for everything. Yeah. So my money went bye-bye and then some.
And that's, again, even more reason to go and give Rosetta some support over on YouTube.
But it is amazing. It sneaks up on you how much everything costs. Even with getting partial funds for funeral and stuff because of the tribal stuff. Even with, the disability and all that, so paying part of the medical. Just dealing with the leukemia center, the transportation issues, all the things that happened in that last week came out to thousands and thousands that we have to pay for all this. And you think about how much this would have cost somebody who didn't have all those extras to help.
Yeah.
But, how is this little disabled woman in the sticks with no real income supposed to pay all this without our help, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's why it's one of those amazing things about just, and I mention all the time, just about the community itself, because you just start to learn about more people, meet more people, and learn about the different situations that everyone's a part of. It really helps people, I think, kind of get outside of their bubbles and to get outside of what they're used to and to realize, oh, there are these big problems that exist. And, oh, this is the reason why I should try to push and support these types of programs over others because of the real world impact it has.
And I will say, I didn't go out big and tell people, please help me and my mom constantly or all that. But I did, between my best friend using part of his money he saved from the projects he makes and paints and sells for his personal budget. That's all he really gets because he does. All the rest of the money goes to his mom and brother for their medical issues. And he sent what he could out of that to help. And, people like TDS and Raven and all these others helping chip in and stuff. I still actually had the people in the community help out with a few thousand for Mom. And I wasn't out there asking for it.
Yeah. They
did this because they saw me struggling. So, we have a good group. We really do. And they're really good people.
Absolutely. And they show up, and that's what's always been so amazing about it. Now there are some people that are not nearly as amazing. I had seen this comment. I was going to highlight it before you jumped on though. But yeah, he's not trolling. Jeremy genuinely enjoyed the film.
So he probably was rolling his eyes with my snarky comments about Avatar that I put on that, right?
Probably, because he and Ryan did both enjoy the film.
Come on. They're supposed to hate everything. Can't they keep up with the...
Well, that's what's so funny too, though, right? Is that I love it and I hate it because it's like, oh, seriously, y'all enjoy this. But then also it kind of just helps to continue to fight against that that narrative that's perpetuated against our group, especially, where it's like, oh yeah, aren't we supposed to be this echo chamber where we all have the same ideas and we all agree and believe in the same thing? It's like, no, we are all individual persons. And I mean, it's great when things like, I mean, because the last time that me and Jeremy had a vehement disagreement on a movie, it was about the Tomorrow War, right? Because he really enjoyed that movie and was defending it, and the main topic, the main point for him in that movie was that it wasn't woke, and I was like, okay, no, that's not. We need to raise our standards here, and for this one, of course, the standard that everyone's using is, talking.
It looks nice. I mean,
yeah, and for him, I will give him some credit. At the very least, he does say that he was moved by the story of the father, like of a strong father figure in the movie, and I understand that completely. But
James
then
Cameron's
also,
still a tool bag.
yeah,
Sorry, and
well,
he
also,
still has
it's not
slandered so many people over the years with his false tellings of historical stories. He's just pathetic.
Yeah. Well, also too, it's hard to like. I would understand it if it was actually like a real person, but it's a giant blue Smurf dad. So it's like, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that, I mean, you might be able to look past that. You might be able to accept it as real, but when it's being presented not as an animated movie, but trying to be presented as real life, and because this technology is still nowhere close to getting past that, that line of being able to tell the difference between something that's fake and something that's real, that uncanny valley effect, because we're not yet close to that. It's something where it's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's not being conveyed because it's still a CGI face looking back at me. I would much rather them have had the actors in actual like blue makeup or something, like if that's what they were going to do.
As I've said, I love fiction and all that. And again, I've written things from poems and short stories where I've had people telling me how much it moved them and they hit them in the emotions and stuff. That stuff doesn't hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I read all these things that are supposedly these beloved stories. I have all this emotion and I don't feel the emotion. I just don't. And maybe that's the OCD autistic side. I don't know. My brain just doesn't connect with the emotion on anything I know is fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It never has, even when I was little.
Yeah.
The things that move me are things like Thunderheart, are things like October Baby, where they're talking about a girl who literally finds out the past of her surviving the abortions and being adopted out and stuff. Things where it's real people and they're real stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what moves me, whether I agree or disagree with the person in the end, because that's the heart of reality. That's people. That's real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's even why I think that there's that nuanced difference between that, again, live action with animation, live action CGI versus, actual animation style, where I look at both Lion Kings, right? I look at the Lion King animated, where they can draw emotion on faces that that obviously as animals don't have that same level of like, don't show that level of emotion, right, that humans do in the same way, right?
No,
because obviously human faces and animal faces are different, right?
Animal faces emote emotion differently.
Exactly.
I'll have you play one of my shorts in a little bit here to show you that difference.
Yeah.
Because I actually have a perfect one for that, where it's the otters actually nuzzling up and cuddling and playing together.
Yeah,
and you can actually see the emotions.
But it's like you look at the original animated Lion King and you're like, oh, I feel Mufasa's death. But then you look at the so-called live action, but it was actually just all CGI, and it's just, oh, those lions look so lifelike. It's like, okay, but yeah, you're also losing any ability to have a human emotional response. Like you're losing that aspect. And I think also you made a good point about how the ultra high def stuff is probably also having an impact as well.
I've noticed that with a lot of like the cheap movies and stuff, because I've told you before, I will shamelessly watch low level horror movies and Christmas movies just to mock the story for hours on end and make fun of the characters. It's a thing I do. I'll record a corny Christmas movie and it'll take us 6 to 8 hours to watch it because we pause it constantly, making fun of the story and acting out things, mocking it. Yeah. This is me and my husband. This is the guy today who decided he came up with a new phrase for all these people who get their political feelings hurt easily. Kafifis. Which, of course, you get that instantly. Right? The whole kafifi thing.
I know fifis.
Think back to
Kofefe.
he altered it slightly to go for the
yes.
Fifi.
Now I yes.
There's a whole post about it. He made this whole joke about it, making fun of people on both sides with it. It's like, oh my God. My husband has kind of a twisted sense of humor for being such a quiet little Christian engineering boy. I'm just going to say. So, I mean, that's what we do. That's how we laugh and enjoy this stuff. Mm-hmm. But the last couple of years, as they're getting into the really high def on the 4K and dipping into screwing with the 8K stuff on a few of them and stuff, you're really starting to see they look older with all the makeup, with everything. They still look older on the high def than they do even in person as people. And some of these are people I've seen and interacted with and met. They look so much older on camera than they do in person because you're seeing lines that you wouldn't even notice in there.
We have a guest.
Oh,
it's baby Thor.
Baby, hi.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey, buddy.
What a cutie.
Hey, buddy. Oh, you just want to be on stream?
Hi.
Huh?
Hi.
Is that a microphone?
That sounds great.
Wow.
Oh, now you're gonna make me get all mushy. Don't do that. You completely derailed me.
No.
You unplugged my headphones, bud. Now I can't hear anything.
Here, you want to show him something small and cute?
Do you have a? Hey, look.
Chipmunk.
Do you see the chipmunk?
Ground squirrel, but similar, same family.
Ground squirrel.
Yep, look it. Yiddy.
Wow. You gonna push the microphone away? You want to say something?
Okay, back to baby.
Hey, what does the Death Star say? Yeah, it does say boo. What does Darth Vader say?
Go back to the baby.
Sorry. What does Jabba say? What does Jabba say? What does Jabba say? Does Jabba say ho ho ho?
Blue.
Oh, you see, it's blue.
Want to see the baby?
Sorry, he sunk into my lap, so.
you put me back small so we can see him.
Bye-bye.
Oh, my bad.
Bye bye, baby.
I forgot that I had her on full screen.
Oh.
Whoa.
Whoa. Ho, 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 ho.
Oh, there's River. All right, Thomas.
Okay. You ready for your nap?
Aw.
You're not ready for your nap? No.
He's like, no, I want to interrupt the show to get attention.
Ooh, can you say, what does Bib Fortuna say? Dewanawanga. Is that what he says? Dewanawanga.
All right.
All right. Back to Lady Freya.
Aw, baby.
All right. Bye-bye, baby
Oh,
Thor.
baby.
Hi, Daddy.
Bye-bye.
Night-night.
Night-night.
Aw, baby.
He's about to go for his nap. Yeah, he is someone, G-Monkey. Yeah, he's over 3 feet tall, and he's only 2. He is off the charts, as they say, for his height.
So you got the right name for him if you actually keep calling him Baby Thor.
I know, right? It's so funny to see him up against people who are like a year older than him because he's about the same height. And we even looked into like average heights of the average height of a 5-year-old. I want to say is like 3 feet 8 inches, and he's already 3 feet.
I was like that when I was young. I was way over the expected heights and stuff. And thank God I quit growing height-wise when I was about 14 because I was already over 5'8" then, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember because I shot way up and way out really young. And as you can imagine, all the teenage boys love that.
I was the tallest kid in middle school. I forgot how tall I was, but I'm 6 feet now, but I was the tallest in middle school. And then as soon as I got into high school, that's when all the basketball players shot up and, all the other, but I'm 6 feet. So,
being over 5'8" as a woman is actually pretty tall.
Mm-hmm.
I go to women's group, and we have this large group of women from all over different spectrums, and I'm in the top few height wise. So when we stand up to do the singing and stuff during the group, I'm like standing over everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lady Frey is 5'9".
Half of them hit me like here.
Yeah, Lady Frey is 5'9", so his chances of being over 6 feet are very, very high.
See, you're tall and she's tall. That makes sense.
Yep.
I'm tall and my husband's 5'7". He's actually shorter than me. Yes.
Remember when like you're younger and like that kind of stuff like it seemed to matter, and then as you grow up you're like, oh, it just really honestly doesn't. It doesn't really make any.
My husband just says it means he's closer to the parts he's interested in.
Oh Lord. Well, with that being said,
hey, I'm just saying my husband's
Manders talked about saying, well, it might be good for Best Buy, talking about Avatar 2, might be good for Best Buy demos, but who goes to Best Buy anymore? That's a fair point. This physical media and physical spaces definitely are on the lower end of things. But
what's the point of going to Best Buy anymore? You go in there and they've got almost no movies anymore.
Yeah.
They've removed like 90% of that section to stick in a bunch of idiotic things that don't matter.
Oh, it's so bad. It is. I mean, because I remember I went there once and I was like, all right, I'm ready to buy some steelbooks. I'm ready to buy some 4Ks for giveaways. And I was like, oh, they literally have nothing.
Last time I went into our local one, they don't even have any aisles for it anymore. They have 2 little end cap pillars near the registers. Yep. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ours is like that too, where they have the like.
And that's where I used to go to get all the different weird animes and stuff other stores weren't carrying. And now they've got like piddly crap. And I'm really trying not to swear on your channel.
Well, I appreciate it, especially with Father Luca in the chat. I'd not been following it, but hey, apparently Croatia beat Morocco today. So congratulations to Croatia for winning 3rd place in football, or as we Americans call it, soccer.
By the way, I'm making videos while I'm running chats and stuff for other people here, while I'm posting videos for auto post over the next few while I'm talking to you.
Of course. Multitasking. It's what we do.
I've got videos programmed to post daily at noon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Through middle of January so far. And I've got about 60 more I need to upload. Because what I do is I just make a whole bunch of them, upload them in mass, because you can upload 15 at a time on YouTube. And if you upload more than 1 at a time, it automatically puts them into drafts and unfinished.
Nice.
So then you just go through and edit the draft the rest of the way and set it to post.
Okay.
And it's actually an easier way to get multiples up at once.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I don't play around.
Trips.
I don't play with the. I tried shorts for a bit. And
shorts you can't program to repost themselves ahead of time. If you post them, they post.
Yeah.
And I understand why for a lot of the stuff like you guys do for the entertainment side and stuff, they don't work. They're not a good idea. But for somebody whose channel is largely the fact that she's a nature photographer and interacting with animals.
Yes.
Shorts are like a freaking godsend.
I mean, if I had a dedicated channel to my dogs, I'm sure the shorts would just be, they'd be going off the.
Because it's really crazy because I get like massive watches on everything I post that has anything to do with Pretty Boy and his family up at the elk habitat. Mm-hmm. They love him. Well, he is gorgeous. He is a gorgeous elk. He's one of the prettiest bull elks with the most gorgeous racks. And that, by the way, YouTube censorship on an elk video. One of my friends posted commenting on his rack.
Because out of context, if you don't know that a rack is...
Yeah, but, I mean, it's a pretty mild word anyways. One of my friends commented to me that he got a notice that his message wasn't being posted. And I got a notice, are you going to allow this or is this sexual harassment? Because he commented on how pretty Boy's rack was.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's like, oh, for crying out loud.
It's like, you realize that these words do have definitions outside of how they might be used, what's the word, colloquially? I mean, like, it's just like in, since I had seen it recently, The Banshees of Inisherin, right? I won't say it, and I'll ask you not to say it either. But there's a 3-letter word for cigarettes that's used in the UK and Ireland. They say that a lot in the film because it's the 1920s Ireland for one, and also that is again something that was used to describe them.
Still used there a lot.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of British friends. Remember, I video chat with one of my British friends a lot, who has a disabled military mother who likes her cigarettes, and I hear that word a lot while I'm talking with him, because she will just yell it across the house if she wants a cigarette and can't reach them.
Yeah, because it also means a bundle of sticks, but can't use language
well,
in the...
I sit there and I do research on these words that are considered offensive today, and everyone knows the fornication under consent to king for the F word. I actually found a use of that in one of the Germanic tribes that goes before that, for that word, which literally meant banging 2 sticks together.
Yeah.
I told my dad that, and without missing a beat, he goes, "Then it's a gay sex term?" And it's like, Dad! Oh my God!
I like how I love how the parent is the one who, like, just without a beat just has that.
Because me and my dad always found language and how things went from being normal every day to offensive interesting. But he said that, and all of us at once, we're all like heads like this, shaking our heads, going, "No, Dad!" The whole family at once.
It kind of reminds me of my wife's. God rest him, but my wife's grandpop. I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but he was known for making limericks and songs.
Oh,
and
Lord.
They would be of a, like, not like, kind of like that, where it's not really like gross. It's not like excessive, but it's just very clever. It's very like, it's using language the way that language should be used, right? In that very clever fashion,
By the way, because you remember a couple of years ago before we lost him, he was, in his 60s up hiking with me in the mountains in the Badlands. I actually did post a video of that where you can actually see him climbing up there in his 60s with muscular dystrophy on the walker. It's my inspirational I posted the other day. So I'm going to send that link to you.
Nice.
Because, how many excuses do people have every day for why I can't do this or I can't do that?
And then you look
Come
at
on, I'm out there scaling rock faces and half of my muscles don't work 90% of the time. No excuses. You can do it.
None whatsoever. Just like Avatar has no excuses.
For why it sucks so bad? I mean...
Yeah, exactly. Jahas had asked if it was woke. Hopefully my comments earlier answered that question. Yeah, so
I thought Avatar was always woke.
Instead of the tree hugging, now it's in the oceans, and now it's all about saving the oceans. But the way in which they create, like, their moral qualm, like with the whaling, is that, for one, the process it takes them to catch one whale is already, like, insane. As again, this is a 3-hour-plus movie that does not need to be 3 hours. So the process of catching the whale was insane. And then it's like, wait, so somehow they figured out if they catch a whale, go inside its mouth, drill up into a specific location, like in its brain, this yellow goo comes out, and it basically, it helps de-age people, essentially. That's the moral qualm. Is
they do actually realize that most native tribes that lived along water areas actually did hunt whales. So making us anti-whale hunting kind of doesn't work.
Well, also,
just saying.
To be fair, these were the humans that were doing it, not the natives.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
The natives.
That was my point.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to make the natives the whole we're against this. It's wrong. You're doing this. No, actually, most natives were whale hunters. So, let's comment to historical relevancy here.
Yeah, but
because
also
there was a recent, a few years ago, there was a case up in Alaska where this guy got in trouble. Okay, now using whale meat is not allowed because of all these regulations in the U.S.
Even amongst like the Inuit.
He didn't. No, it's not at all. He didn't care when he found one beached, and the tribe can't push it back out. We can't call someone in, so. He just said, "Screw it, I don't care if I get arrested." He cut the thing up and sent it back to the starving tribes around him. And he got arrested for doing that, even though it couldn't have been saved anyways.
But it's amazing that you mentioned that, right, about how it was common that those that lived along the coast would, would hunt for sea life, right? And so part of that could be even whales. And yet for this one, it's the humans that are using the whales in this way and then are abandoning them, like the carcasses, just leaving them behind. And it's like, I guarantee you that if you actually look to history of native cultures, not only would they have hunted them, they probably would have used every part or almost every part.
Most of the tribes, yeah. There's a few tribes that did trophy stuff and some creepy poaching stuff, but not most.
Yeah.
And most tribes, it was the same way that Sioux had it, is if it gives up its life for you, you better use every part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I make the bone jewelry and artwork, which is why I do things using, there's a reason we're supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jonah Wingster, of course, being our pet troll, saying he now wants Japanese to increase whaling by 100%. No.
We actually do have endangered whales, and it actually is in conservation's best interest because they help control other sea populations.
Yeah.
To try to protect them some. The point is there's a balance to real conservation, keeping track of different species, and actually helping the ecosystem balance from the damage man's done, versus this tree-hugging hippie stuff where they say never touch anything, just let it all go, and whatever happens, happens. That's not accurate either. Because by our existence, the way mankind lives, the way our technology is, the things we have to do to stop forest fires and other stuff, we have already changed the ecosystem. We are responsible to correct what we've changed or be good stewards of the land God gave us.
Yes. Yeah, the good stewardship is really ultimately what it comes down to. But we can obviously, and to do that through our own actual, desires and understanding.
I realized that was a joke, too. I realized that was a joke in chat, too. But I have to add my little peek.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, yeah.
I'm the nature girl. What do you want?
Yeah.
But right now, I have a big project I've been working on recently that's very complicated. What I'm trying to do right now is actually create a full GPS tracking list of the state for every eagle nest for the DNR groups for conservation care of the eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually trying to create a full charting with information and everything on which ones are in it, exact locations and stuff for hundreds of eagle nests.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, this is complicated. I've got the first about 50 charted so far, which isn't too bad.
Nice.
But
I got pulled up the video that you had sent. So for those that need motivation,
he was 61 with multiple forms of muscular dystrophy. He was supposed to be in a wheelchair about 30 some years before this.
And look at him go.
And not slowly either. And this is the trail that the bighorn sheep created. This is very steep actually.
And
this is up in the mountain peaks.
And to me, it seems like he's almost barely even using the walker.
He moved. He used it for stability. He made himself stay in shape. But 61 with multiple forms of muscular dystrophy. That says it all right there, doesn't it?
Yep. And it's like, yeah, so what's your excuse? I know I have no excuse, but
I was always very proud of Dad. He never let anything get him down. And I remember when I was a kid, because it bothered me seeing him go through all this as a kid. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what he was going through. So I asked him about it. I asked him, how do you deal with this? What do you do with this and stuff? And his response to how do you deal with having all these issues was to look at me and say that he'd rather it was him than somebody who couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And that kind of hit me. In other words, I'd rather take this on than make somebody else have to go through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I'm answering a question. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're multi-streaming on multiple locations, and it just sent it 3 times. Apologies, Kincaid Rumsky. He was asking why we can't count tickets accurately. It's just because we have thousands of theaters all using different systems, and there's no centralized system for it. So that's ultimately the reason why, but they don't want to put the money into it. But no, yeah, I mean, he really sounds like he was just truly an amazing person. And I'm glad that y'all were able to come together even closer as a family, right? Even in the midst of loss, even in the midst of that sadness, that y'all were able to come together.
Yeah. And I think that's why we're pushing so much right now is Dad loved Christmas. He loved this time of year and stuff. And we're all just trying to make sure we don't forget it and lose sight of it without him. Because me and Mom always joke, if we don't keep going, if we don't keep our spirits up, if we don't find good in life, he's going to haunt us for it.
So it's like we are called to to continue on that legacy, to continue on that mindset.
It's
that way of
just,
thinking.
I know Mom needs us there. It's not just her first Christmas without Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Their anniversary was the day before my birthday, so
So lots of stuff. Yeah.
It's so many family days from between just before Christmas here through the end of January that it's going to be constantly dealing with all those days that were important to Dad. So
yeah. And I guess because I'll for those that have been commenting and tagging, I'll try and get to as many comments as I can. But as you all know, the Chosen of Valhalla streams stay focused on the Chosen. But I think that brings up a good question to ask, because probably not looking to go too much longer today just because of the nature of the day. But what are some Christmas things that you do every year? Some Christmas traditions and some things that you're planning to do this year?
Well, that's kind of changed a lot the last few years, but for a long time we would actually do a few trips out where we'd go look at lights together, partly because you remember Jazzy, who we lost a couple of years ago, the kitty.
Mm-hmm.
She actually loved looking at Christmas lights to the point where we'd put her in her harness and she'd go sit in the car and watch the lights for hours. She had her love of food portals, where Steve would go pick out his favorite sandwich at a fast food and he'd make sure they put bacon on the side to give her.
Did you say food portal?
That's how she looked at it. It was a food portal. As soon as we drove up to him, she looked at the building and she bounced in her spot waiting. And
it just sounds so much more fun that way. It's
and she would sit there and she'd wait for the food to come through the hole. It's and she loved, and it's poor Jazzy, but at the same time, she was literally only a couple months away from being 17 when we lost her. So she had a good long life, and she was a sweetheart, and at least she got to pass away in our arms without a lot of pain. That's at least something. But she loved going to look for lights. Well, Steve hasn't really been into it since we lost her, because he was a big softie and he loved doing that with her. But it's always been, I will stick up several trees around the house a few months before, and I'll fill them with all the gifts I'm giving away to people as I make them. Yeah. And then just take it all down and give it out right after. It's weird and silly, kitschy things that I do mostly, but I'm the crazy chick that will make 20 baskets of different gift bags and stuff for every person, and I'll keep them in my purse and give them out to strangers at times.
Nice. Yeah, my wife's gotten into this, has gotten into cross stitching, and so her big thing has been making a lot of cross stitch, whether they be ornaments or just other different iterations of cross stitching.
Ornaments, crosses, and coasters were the ones I usually did when I was doing more of that stuff.
Yeah. So she's been making a lot of gifts with the cross stitching, which has been cool to see.
I do a lot of beading mostly, but I mean, this year I've been doing a lot of hand sketched bookmarks, or making bookmarks out of my photography and eagle bookmarks and stuff like that, and giving those out.
Yeah, we saw some of the bookmarks last stream.
Yeah. I also made a whole bunch out of doing little strip collages of different eagle shots and flower shots and stuff, and then turn that into them too. So you'll have a little one where you have 3 or 4 of my fancy black and white eagles on one little strip bookmark and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it was just fun little cute things I could make easily, but they've gone over really well with people, and I have to take a bunch home because there's a bunch of people in the family who want them. But it's stuff like that. That's whatever you can do that is going to appeal to people. And on that note, I don't know, do you want to go there? It's not overly graphic, but to all the people who say nature is so peaceful.
Oh, I thought it was a very different direction.
This is just all those little tree-hugging hippies out there that say nature's so peaceful.
We gotta preserve the eagles. They are so majestic, but they
are majestic, and they're vital for the ecosystem, but they are vicious hunters.
Yep.
This photo gives you a clue what they're like.
And what is that on the ground? It's hard to tell.
That's a deer.
Deer. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that was one I took a couple of years ago. I actually watched them kill and hunt the deer on that one. Nice. But yeah, it's eagles are vicious when they're hunting. And one of the reasons they like winter areas is their beaks are really strong. So they'll sit on top of rivers and lakes that are frozen over, that have a few inches of ice, and they'll just sit there and watch as the fish go underneath. And when a fish gets near enough to the surface they can catch it, they'll snap through the solid ice and pull it out in a second flat.
That's awesome.
It's vicious. It's cool to watch, though.
Oh man, like that's something where I would love, because obviously I know that you're focused more on photography. I think it'd be awesome to try to get some type of like high frame rate shot of that to like get a real slow
I am
motion.
trying to.
Yeah.
I have some speed camera stuff, but you have to get close enough and get the right angle, and it is hard to capture.
Yeah.
I've tried a few times, but it hasn't been great yet. And even I go to the like Eagle Walk in these places where they're known for mass eagles staying there for months a year, where photographers will come from around the country to come photograph the groups of eagles together.
Mm-hmm.
And even all these professional photographers there rarely manage to catch the shots of that. That's how hard it is. You're in a group where there's like hundreds of professional photographers down the river, and all of us are struggling to get those shots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a group struggle together, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's I think what my mom wants is, because mom's always felt really close to eagles anyways, and she loves them so much that I think that's why she wants to come here next year, is because she's talked the last few years while I've been doing this about wanting to see these groups of eagles together and interact with them. She really wants to. She's wanted to for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I think she's like, well, there's no reason to have to stay in the house when there's nobody there to help with me and there's nothing I need. Set the house so it'll stay warm enough the pipes won't freeze, and just go for a few months and get out of the weather, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also talking about the eagles there, I think Ambrose is right. Sounds a lot more exciting than when Uncle Bob ice fishes.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more vicious too.
Yeah, eagles are vicious. One of the things I watched, and people cringe, I don't care. It's nature. It's fact. I watched one with this running deer at full speed fly up behind it, threw its legs upside out and grab its throat and pull it out as it was running.
Dang.
How much precision do you have to do that and not get hit by the legs or something?
Seriously. Well, also, you just think about the aerodynamics of that too.
Yeah. And then as the deer is falling, it flips and lands on its back and starts tearing it apart as it hits the ground. It's like...
That's incredible.
And I'm just sitting there going, damn, I wish I had my camera out when that started. Crap,
you're just like,
because you see it start and you get completely like stoned a sec where you're like, I can't move. I have to watch this. Oh crap! I don't have the camera out.
I like J.S. Pena's adding of fatality. Like that's just like the day you
do have your camera. Oh,
that
was definitely like Mortal Kombat kind of stuff.
Yeah. The day you do have your camera, finish him, and then all of a sudden fatality.
But
see how the tree huggers appreciate that.
And I get it. I actually do love nature. I actually do think it's an incredible balance.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not this peaceful coexist stuff that they try to make it into.
It's just like with the St. Francis of Assisi. Like people are always like, I love St. Francis because he loved animals, and I love animals, and it's like, yeah, you should probably read some of his work though, because he was also very much a defender of the faith. And he did not mince words when it came to heresy and other things like it. So,
but I mean, this is also why I don't get as much time to sit and watch stuff as stuff. Because honestly, which would you rather do? Sit down and watch a show or a movie, or go out and interact with eagles and watch them hunting? I mean,
one clearly wins over the other.
It's now, like
going to see a game versus actually, watching on TV versus actually being there.
Yeah. For my husband's birthday, I gave him the box set of all the seasons of Last Man Standing.
Nice.
Holy crap, they cut out some jokes. Oh, wow, some of those go dark.
Oh, they cut them out.
There's sections in that never aired, even on the original airings.
Oh, wow.
Including one point where one of the daughters yells, "If very not allowed on TV," swear phrase.
Wow.
There's a lot of jokes where I can see they cut them because it's like pushing that boundaries where they would offend people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of those kinds of jokes where all of a sudden there's a scene that wasn't in the original airing. Holy crap, that's pushing buttons with that joke. And then you're like, okay, I think I know why they cut that.
Yep.
But it's cool because I'm not for censorship, and I actually think pushing people's buttons with humor that offends actually helps us grow a thick skin and not be so coddled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know something that, whether you love him or hate him, I know that's something that Dave Chappelle's been a big part of, is saying
I've never been a giant fan of his humor style, but I actually appreciate a lot of his jokes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like I was never into the way he delivered them with Richard Pryor's stuff, but I actually really appreciate the fact that he talked openly about the crap that he went through, about the things that happened to him, joking about the things that happened to him, considering he went through horrors as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he was willing to talk about it and deal with it, I actually found really refreshing, because we're kind of still today, you have either one side that wants everyone to talk about everything and every little thing means you're a victim, or you have another side where we've always been kind of taught to hide our feelings and not talk about dark things that are done to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's healthy for people who've been through that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's this balance point we have to find, where we don't sit there and coddle every little thing and say, oh, that's so precious, you went through that. It's like, no, that doesn't really matter. That's really pathetic. Versus, yeah, let's actually hear people who are real victims, who've been through stuff. Let's let them have their dark humor. And this is why the censorship, where they say, well, we have to censor this, you might offend somebody who's been through that. It's like, most people who've actually been through that stuff, dark humor and dark stories based on it is actually a coping mechanism. A lot of them write it and create it.
Yep, it's an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So by censoring it, you're shutting out one of the, because it's not the outlet for everybody, but it's an outlet for some, and so you're shutting it down for people that might actually need something like that.
Well, again, and not for everybody. There is nothing in life other than basic body functions that everybody does.
Yeah,
we all have different ways of expressing who and what we are and what we've been through, and I think that's healthy. And I don't. It's the same way I was talking about with the poetry. I get why religious sites are going to have restrictions on what you can post and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or ones that are designed as family-friendly sites. And there should be those sites too.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's so difficult to get a site that allows raw emotion, where most of the sites, you're not allowed to talk about different types of trauma, different types of sexual things that are done or other stuff. Well, that also censors the victims who use that as an emotional outlet.
Yeah.
And if you cut out that stuff, you're cutting out 90% of the historical poetry, from Shakespeare all the way through to Maya Angelou. Oscar Wilde wrote stuff about his gay sex acts, for crying out loud. You would be cutting out most of history of language. And the thing is, whether you find things offensive or adult, and they shouldn't necessarily always be available to children, depending on what they wrote, adults should see this. We should hear the history of how things went, what people went through, what they did, and actually have a real perspective of the world, not a sanitized, coddled one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Also, Keely says, hey.
Hi,
to
Keely.
You. And Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan also says hi. And then, Father Luca, yep, he was not a hippie. He was definitely not a hippie, as some might think. Is the case. There were a lot of people also, posting. There was some eagle emojis being, I want to fly like an eagle to the sea, and then the fatality, and then Father Luca, we're gonna give you an excuse this time because you're Croatian. He said, "Come over here," and it's "Get over here." Shadow Wigster, thanks for getting that one correct. But anything that you wanted to share, to talk about before we start to wrap things up?
I just want to remind people to not focus on the negative over these holiday seasons. I've been dealing so much the last few days with people dealing with depression and suicidal behaviors and stuff. And there's a lot of us out there on the different social medias and stuff in the community who will help you, who will be there for you, who will listen to you. Talk to us, because you don't have to be alone.
Absolutely. Amen. Reach out. First step is always to reach out and say something. And thank you for that. Thank you for joining me today as well, and not leaving me alone. On this,
which I almost did. I'm so sorry.
I know, it's fine. I was just like, surely I'll have Rosetta here. And then I was like, oh, Rosetta's maybe not. Well, surely no, never. They're not. Can't be. Oh well. If anything, it'll just be a midday stream, and then people say, oh, what happened? But I did want to, before, if you have any links and anything that you want to get prepped and sent, I can go through some of the comments and questions that people had for me during the stream.
Let me see if I can actually get a hold of a couple of these easily.
Take your time.
I haven't been so worked lately.
Let's see. Just Another Ape was trying to call me out. I think he left the chat probably by now, but he says Avatar 2 was way better than Odin's review. He really is a cynic. Well, for one, I do say every time I'm the critic who is a cynic, so okay. And two, no, it really was that bad. It really was that bad.
Native
There's
chick
another
that agrees with his view of how they treat natives in those.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep. A Goat 1971. It says, I never did understand the appeal of Avatar. Even in 2009, I saw it as a movie for midwits and children that are entertained by flashing lights and LED laser pens that entertain cats. Yeah, I think that's one way of explaining Avatar. And I think the one counter that some might try to bring up is, well, it's mindless entertainment. It's the popcorn flick. It's like, yeah, but the popcorn flick of yesteryear had a lot more to it. I mean, I think a lot of people would say films like Jaws as being some of the first like big Hollywood type like popcorn flick. Jurassic Park sometimes is thrown into that category. And yet those are films that have also so much more weight to them and like are classics, like are films that you continually want to watch over and over again. There's no way Avatar is even in the same category as...
Ambrose says I'm a victim of Avatar too. So sad.
I saw that. I saw that too. Yeah, G Monkey. So Baby Thor was on for a little bit earlier. Yeah, he's huge. Bryant Barth, what's going on? Yes, I would love to see The Whale. Not related at all to Avatar 2, but the one with Brendan Fraser. Yeah, I would love to see The Whale. I think that I've just been hearing a lot of things about his performance in the film, so really looking forward to that.
Brendan Fraser was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will be. Because
it'd be cool to see him in something more dramatic.
Well, when I was growing up, he was my main crush that I had most of that time. And let's face it, George of the Jungle did not diminish that feeling any.
Oh, goodness, that movie.
I am sorry,
it's
but
silly fun, you know?
When it came out, was right in that, mid-teen, a couple years past puberty age. And let's just say seeing him running around half naked with his muscles did not hurt that crush any.
George of the Jungle.
But the thing is that George of the Jungle and Dudley Do-Right were very good for what they were in the 90s. And the reason that Dudley Do-Right got panned was because of all the Indian jokes.
It's been so long since I've seen that one. I didn't even remember.
Because it was in the same vein as George. Yes, there were places where they took some liberties with the original story, but it had that feel at least.
Okay.
But it got panned by critics and viewers for too many Indian jokes and being racially offensive in the late 90s. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, one of the people who loved it the most was my dad, who sat there and laughed his way through the native stuff every time.
Yeah. It's great when people, can take jokes and laugh at themselves, It's kind of
because,
like
honestly,
human experience stuff,
I looked at that movie and I saw what I saw with it was they tried to mix a lot of the F Troop native jokes into Dudley Do-Right. And to me, it was good. It was funny. Especially parts like, I thought the North Americans could run all day. Oh yeah, right, like we're really Indians. It's like the whole thing was tons of Indian jokes. Yeah. And the funny thing is, every person I know who loved it was native. Meanwhile, all these white people were offended at it.
Yeah, well, it's just like with all the symbols, right? You used to have the Washington Redskins, you used to have the Cleveland Indians.
And I'll be fair, Wahoo was started as a racial slur.
Yeah.
I still didn't care, but it was. The Redskins weren't. It was actually in honor of their coach, who was native.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also the history and context of it too.
And when you ask natives about it, they either don't care or they have a positive view, generally speaking.
With Wahoo, most of them didn't care. They just didn't want to deal with the team if they had that as their. They knew it was an offensive history. They didn't care.
Yep.
With Redskins, most of us either didn't care or supported it because we knew the history and context was not meant as a slur or an insult.
Yep. Whenever there's something offensive, you can always guarantee that there's some white liberal somewhere who is the...
Yeah, I agree with Malcolm X about white liberals. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, look and see who the ones who are at the forefront of any of these campaigns to cancel names and teams and stuff.
You go on these threads on Twitter, and the first thing you'll see is a whole bunch of people from Native to Hispanic to Black agreeing they don't like this race swap, they don't like this pandering stuff, they don't like this stuff in Hollywood, followed by some group of white liberals coming in and telling them why you're wrong and you should appreciate what we're doing for you.
You should embrace Latinx.
Oh my God.
Father Luca, again, congratulations on your soccer team winning 3rd place. Brian Partak, do you think Avatar 2 is a dark horse? A lot of people seem to enjoy it. I don't know what you mean by dark horse. I think it's going to make money. I do think the film's still going to make a lot of money. I can hate a film and still admit numbers and facts about it. I still, right now, I'm still projecting, unless the weekend goes off the rails completely, I still think the film could do 1.5 to 2 billion by the end of its run. I do think it has that kind of potential. But as always, doesn't mean it's a good movie. I think that this is getting almost the same exact response as the first one did. There are some people who love it, and most of them are talking about nothing else other than the visual effects. And so it's like, okay, you can say that until you're blue in the face. It doesn't make the film a good movie.
Except for those few wokies who are going, oh, look, we love this story, with a bunch of natives going, but the story's Shrek. It doesn't represent us.
Exactly. And again, there's some like Jeremy, and again, kudos to him for at least trying to, say
find
that
a positive in it.
Trying to find a positive
on the normal cliche argument and debate.
Yeah, and it is
because at least he's not focusing on the main story and going, oh, I love all this.
Exactly.
So, and again, there is such a thing as the noble savage and all that stuff, but the way Hollywood treats it is such BS. And again, this is why I recommend that people go back to the 90s and watch Thunderheart, because it actually was, the story was designed to deal with a lot of the stuff that was happening on the reservations in the 70s, the Russell Means era, the AIM stuff, and a lot of the criminal element on the res. But it was also done in a way to show that even among those segments of the native population, how they got that way, all the indoctrination behind it and stuff. And it was based on somebody's true story and his interactions with the res. And to do the movie, Val Kilmer actually went out and lived on the res for a while with the people and studied what happened. So he didn't just do the movie. He actually embraced it in the story and learned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what we need more of, where you actually care about the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because it actually is one of the based on true story movies I would say actually gets it closest in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Your Average Patriot Nerd said, hail, good Friday Night Tights last night. Yes, thank you. Even though I did, it was funny because, one of the few times that I'm, trying to rant and I'm the one that's told to stop talking and that I'll be muted. It was funny. It's just really funny that like whenever any argument happens, like this one I was actually in the midst of, but somehow I always end up being the bad guy. It's just so funny. Anyway.
Anti-Catholic. I'm just kidding.
Clearly,
I have the screenshots. You've got people in your community that really don't help. Like the ones out there, this woman that was out there telling everyone to grow up, you have to become Catholic now and stuff on Twitter. And she has this whole group of Catholics backing her on it. They're going, you don't represent them. Shut up. Mm. But it's like, that stuff doesn't help.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the extremists tend to define every community because they're the ones with the loudest voices.
Yeah. I see a lot of random voices in the Friday Night Tights chat. Some of them are good. Some of them are not. I ended up having, I was going back and forth.
We've had these discussions. I don't agree with a lot of the Catholic stuff, but I also don't agree with the raging anti-Catholic insanity either.
Oh, yeah. I was basically having a debate with someone who was trying to turn the discussion into it was the mentioning of the fact that in Hollywood there are a lot of, Fredos, right? And basically they try to turn it into like a whole Catholic thing. And I was trying to make the point of like, you do realize that the rate is no different amongst Catholics than it is amongst like public schools and other things like that.
Actually, as bad as what happened with the Catholic Church was, and I'm not going to make excuses for that. It was bad.
And no one should, because anyone who committed a crime needs to be held accountable.
It was bad that they were so protected for a while, and they were. Oh, yeah. But the rate of that kind of abuse in Hollywood and public schools is actually much higher than it ever was in the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll
let you say that. I'll try to be the.
And this is as somebody who doesn't like the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this to defend my church. I'm saying this to defend somebody I disagree with.
Yeah. Let's
Because
just
it's
say
the facts.
you can go after groups on legitimate grounds, and then there's grounds like that where it's like,
And you could go after that case on legitimate grounds.
yeah,
It was wrong that for so long they were being protected by the Vatican when they were known as predators. And that did happen. That does not mean that the entire church is bad. It does not mean all the people in the church are bad, nor does it mean that this was happening in every church and all this stuff. So you can call out what was wrong and acknowledge it has been fixed and still respect the people that weren't a part of that issue.
Yep.
Decency.
Yeah, absolutely. Common sense, right?
I can sit here and point out that there's falsehoods on both stories with the tribal stuff. They always talk about, well, they try to say that the Sioux weren't native to the Black Hills. Well, that's false. The Sioux, Sheridan, Cheyenne, and those all came from the same original tribe long ago. They split for a while. The Sioux explored the entire continent for multiple generations, a few hundred years. And when they split their tribe, when part of them left to explore, so that part of them stayed there to protect the land. When by the time they came back, the tribe that was there had adapted and changed through the eras. They changed their name and stuff, and they rejected the Sioux, even though they were the same tribe. So that's what led to that whole war. And was either side right in trying to wipe each other out when you're the same tribe? No.
Yeah.
But they were the same tribe. This was not wiping somebody else out that was there first.
Yeah.
So there's this whole context that's lost in the public discussion about that, where they act like the Sioux weren't here before. And no, our culture and our religion for thousands of years has always been in the Black Hills. We just left for a while because we wanted to find out what all was in this creation on this continent from the Great Spirit God. What all did he create? We wanted to know the land around us.
Would you say it was because they thought something was just around the river bend?
No, in fact, I want to slap you for that comment.
It's a joke. It was just a joke.
So was mine, but it made you spit fake, so that's good.
Avatar 2, The Way of the Astro Smurf, says Father Luca. Exactly. Ambrose, yeah, exactly. Not every single movie show has a political agenda. When it comes to James Cameron, he clearly does, though. Pajas Pena, I'm anti-whaling, but The Way of Water sounds lame. Yep, absolutely. Abomination just put an image of a cat with a fishbowl head. That's funny, over on Odyssey. Thanks for showing up last minute. Jazz Pena, ahoy to you. He then says, what are your thoughts on A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey? Kind of similar, like, it wasn't offensive, like, as a movie, but it was one of those films where after it was over, I thought, I don't think this has added anything to the Christmas Carol lore. I think there are far better...
I thought it was a little awkward, because I get most of the scenes that felt awkward, like the weird action where he's sliding through this and stuff, they were based on references in the book.
Yeah.
So it didn't break the lore, but it was kind of awkward and wasn't well put together, in my opinion.
Yeah. As I said, it's inoffensive, but it doesn't really add much to it. Like, there are far
as
better
much as
ones
I
I would watch.
dislike a lot of stuff about Patrick Stewart, his was way better.
Yeah. Or, of course, I like the Muppets one, personally. But
well, I love that, too, but
yeah.
I'm talking about the ones that are more realistic to the book and stuff like that.
Are you telling me that Muppets aren't real?
Shh. What I'm saying is, out of the ones that are based to be more true live action, more based on the book, more accurate and stuff, the one that was more accurate and still actually dragged you in was Patrick Stewart. He did do the emotions of the character well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Father Luca had this joke when you showed the eagle with the deer. Oh, dear! I just thought that was...
Deer go bye-bye. I mean...
yeah, seriously. Deer go bye-bye. All right, let's see. Father Luca apologized for his blunder. It's okay. And then he went on to say, I deserve the sackcloth. No, you do not deserve the sackcloth and ashes, Father. You do not need to go the Job route, all right? You'll be okay. You made an innocent mistake.
Okay, Ambrose just earned a lot of points with me, because that was actually one of my favorites as a kid.
Yeah.
I love the music in it.
It's been a long time since I've seen the Mr. Magoo.
I have that one. That's part of my series I let play in the background during Christmas time.
Yeah. But Ambrose was also a victim of Avatar too, so I feel you.
That's so tragic. Why did you let somebody make you have to watch that?
I think he may have chosen it.
Okay, then it's self-inflicted and you're a masochist. I have no pity. No pity.
Follow Luca then. I said Avatar 2 dancing with the Astro Smurfs. Yes, I think that also would work. Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan finally finished the Christmas shopping today. Hey, good for you. That's actually pretty early for that to happen. So let's see. Mephisto's movie reviews just says, oh no. J.S. Pena, I'll give James Cameron this. He kept his word on making a sequel to Avatar, which is more than could be said for Rian Johnson in Star Wars. Yeah, that's a fact.
Low blow. Well done.
Captain Canada says, I love Thunderheart. It's one of my favorite movies. Hey,
that's actually based on my tribe and largely my family. So
are you trying to say it's autobiographical?
Not quite. I came around after that time, but...
Are you suggesting coconuts migrate?
No, they just get carried by sparrows. I mean,
not at all. They could be carried. Anyway, but yes. Hey, yeah, you have someone that loves the same movie you do. Captain Canada, meet Rosetta.
I've always had a soft spot for Val Kilmer stuff, so hey.
There you go. Jess Pena, have you considered doing collaboration with Melanie Mack? I know of Melanie Mack. I don't know enough of about her to have that. I also I'm not one typically for like collaborations. It's one of those things where if anyone ever asks me, I'm usually like, if I can make
he doesn't even go on other channels that often. He does on occasion.
When I can. Again, it's purely scheduled.
It'd be nice if when I get monetized, he comes on my celebration. Hint, hint, hint.
Oh, believe me, if I'm available and I'm invited, absolutely, I will jump on. Like, that's kind of like my thing is I jump on.
Well,
I can't stay on.
I will tell you in your group chat that we're in when I know what I'm going to be able to. So there'll be at least that.
Exactly. Because I do try to jump in on like that kind of stuff when I can. But
I did get to see Abu Nas again when I had my 1,000K. He came in to see me.
Yeah, nice.
He showed up right as I was getting tired and calling it quits.
Of course he did. Of course.
But he did actually come in to congratulate me.
Follow Lucas staying on the same track. Avatar 2 dancing with the whales. Only if it's the whales. There's the Mr. Magoo comment about Mr. Magoo Christmas Carol. Favorite within my age group. It's a good one. Yeah, Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, totally agree. Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah, definitely not.
I will say, out of all the versions I saw as a kid, the one that I found creepiest with the thieves was actually Magoo's. Because they have the whole part where they're like singing, celebrating their evil acts. They're like jaw open and twisted and stuff as they're seeing with the teeth gnarled in the camera. Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, but obviously plugging here Rosetta's work. So this is One Eagle Rider over on Redbubble. If you want to explore the designs that she has here and
hopefully this spring I'll be putting up more of the animal stuff. If you go into each one of those, it's based on which items will actually work well on the different merches based on how you can crop it. But if you look at the bison there, scroll up slightly there a moment. You actually look at the bison, both the resting warrior and the mother and her baby there. You've got some really great shots here that you have like everything from hats to shirts to coasters and laptop stuff and more you can get with it.
Nice. I like that.
So it's like a little piece of all my art and a lot of nature stuff there. And yeah, there's trumpeter swans, which are the rarest swan type still. At one point they were down where they was less than 100 known in population, and now they're only at a few thousand. But they migrate through here every year, so I do photos and videos with them when I can. So I love those guys. They're actually a very big misnomer. The trumpeter swans are the largest swan, and they're actually one of the most docile and quietest. Whereas the mute swans are actually one of the most aggressive and loudest. Think about the trumpet or mute there a sec, and the names should be inverted, shouldn't they?
Yeah. Are you saying that these swans are not Trump supporters?
They're probably like me and don't care about him. I mean,
that's where my brain went. Ha ha ha. I'm so funny. I'm not. No. But check her out over on Redbubble, and then the Twitter, or rather the YouTube channel has been posted there. Help her get to monetization. 20 more hours she needs. Go support her work over there. She's also active on the Twitters as well. I didn't have that one ready to go. One moment. Haha. There it is.
There I am.
So follow. and
Ignore the
support
poll.
her.
Ignore the poll. Trust me, ignore that poll.
All right, wait. You can follow her on Twitter. There you go. At RoseMQueen1. There you go. You can follow her over there.
That's part of the psychology stuff I do, and sometimes those get a little adult in their questions. So
Yes.
it's not meant as anything crass or pushing things, but it does. That's why I put an adult warning on my page, is because I deal with a lot of psychology.
You do have you do have the 18 with the X over. So there it is. So
no minors allowed.
Exactly. It's for your own protection. Rosetta, thank you for joining me today on this beautiful Saturday, and for being the one of the. At first, I remember when I had initially asked, it sounded like there were a few people who were like, I might be able to stop around a little bit. And then by the day of, it was like, no, they got this. But hey, as I said, stuff happens during this time of the year. It's a busy time of the year for everybody.
If you're worried about it, you can always just try to find a way to do a second one next month for those who couldn't.
Yeah, but obviously,
which you have done before when it happens like this.
But obviously, January too can, because of the holidays, and we'll see.
We'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do with it.
Take care of them, of course, and you've got your hands full with that little one that was watching us.
Yes, as you saw, he was literally like, I want to scratch the microphone. I don't even know what this is, but this is. Yeah, and my wife was so concerned, saying, "Oh, and they can hear that," and I was like, "Yeah, but actually, it doesn't sound terrible."
It wasn't ultra loud. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was like, oh, it's little baby hands, just scratching on the little.
Now, if it had been like a cat or dog doing that, it would have been like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh yeah, or if it was, I have like the big poofy one on. Had it been like the thinner one, that probably could have been, and also, of course, it was the direct mic itself. It would have been as well. But yeah, a shout out to Tina B, Empress of the Universe, who is dealing with illness. So pray for her recovery, especially again for her eyes. And shout out to Matt317, who wasn't able to make it today. To Laura, the Modern Major General, wasn't able to make it today. To Father Luca, who has been in the chat. Congratulations again to you. Mr. Roy, K-Man, also were not able to join today. K-Man was going to be on, but because of traveling complications, wasn't able to make it. And then she's never able to join us, unfortunately, but she is still a chosen member. Shout out to Miss Martin Muses as well. So with all of that, any last thoughts before we sign off?
All I want to do for this year, for the last few weeks and for ringing through Christmas, is set up these videos so that you guys will see cute little animal interactions and pretty upbeat things and baby signets and stuff like that over Christmas in January here, so that you have something to uplift you as we're going through a rough time for everybody, because the holidays are always stressful and always rough. It's that mixed blessing. So if you follow the channel, there'll be a lot of short videos and shorts. And they'll just be things to hopefully lift your spirits, make you laugh and smile. There's otter videos, there's red panda videos, there's turtles swimming around and playing in front of the camera and stuff already up. And there's going to be more of that stuff over the next few months.
And that's what we all need during the holiday season, when things can get kind of crazy. Just check out Rosetta's channel and check out her shorts, check out her videos, and take a moment just to, give your brain some nice relaxing nature. Relax.
What I tried to do, all the things everyone kept recommending to me to get my channel to grow and get myself up, none of it ever worked. Mm-hmm. When I said quit throwing away everything just because I had a tremor or a shake or a glitch in one spot because my brain issues and my hand and arm muscle issues, and I started going, well, whether there's a little issue or not, just share it with people because there's still positive stuff. That's when things started going better. So the lesson learned in this is that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do something that'll make other people happy.
Amen. And with that positive note, we'll end the stream. And again, Rosetta, thank you for joining today. A shout out to not just to all the other chosen that weren't able to make it today, but to also Chris from the 80s. I promise I'll make the December video at some point. It'll be this week. I kind of got hit because unfortunately baby Thor was sick yesterday, so he was not able to go to daycare. And so because of that, I was stay-at-home dad yesterday on my first day off for the holiday. So I was not happy, but luckily he's a little trooper. but that's when I was going to do it. So this Monday, I should be able to finally start to get some of that stuff done. But Chris from the 80s, shout out to him. Check out his YouTube channel, as he is a member of the Keep the Bifrost and has earned that shout. And so we'll see the November shoutouts video once again. So Rosetta, thank you, as always, for being a chosen member, for joining me today. And again, check out her websites and her YouTube channel again, and posted all that stuff in the chat. So y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.
I bet you wish that.
And now for a huge special shout out to all of my November Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. Starting off with Patreon with Father Luca Illich. Thank you very much, Father. Garrett Searles, Jaimir Irie Hymason, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Laura, The Modern Major General Story, Orange Hat Reviews, who you can check out on YouTube at his channel, Orange Hat Reviews, Rosetta Allen, who also has a YouTube channel that you can check out at Eagle Rider, and Miss Martin Muses, who also has a YouTube channel, Miss Martin Muses, and of course, the amazing Empress of the Universe, Tina B, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Tina B, where she hosts the show with Stephanie B, one of my mods, and one of my Valkyrie, called Soup to Nuts. Check out Soup to Nuts, and it premieres pretty much every Friday. So again, shout out to all of my Patreon people, also to all my Subscribe Star people, starting off with Matt317. Check him out on Twitch at Matt317. The R, Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Rod, the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And ZK-Man you could check out over at xtheboundaries.co to follow him as he starts his podcast, and also for many of his musical musings as well. Check him out. Very, very talented guy. And then lastly, my locals peeps. We got Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, UAB Mad Dog, Mike Jackson for the win, J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer, Robert Barnes. Thank you all so very much for supporting me. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link in the video description below, where you get access to that. Also, you get access to special things like giveaways, and also exclusive podcasts that I do with John the Flickinger and other guests throughout the month of November and in the previous and the months to follow as well. And again, if any of that sounds interesting to you, especially the 4K giveaways, Steelbook giveaways, some of them that I have to give away this month are films like Starship Troopers on 4K Steelbook, Top Gun Maverick on 4K Steelbook, amongst many others. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the link and follow the instructions down below. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.